Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It is July 5th, 2020, the day after the 4th of July. And here we are. It is a full moon in Capricorn, also known as the buck moon. And we are gathering as a community to do a workshop on finding balance. So I'm going to share my screen now. There we go. Okay. And I beg your patience with me. As I was just sharing before I pressed record, there may be a little bit of delay in communication and technology. And so this is a time to just really practice our patience. So I think you might be seeing my slides now, and I'm going to move it up to slideshow. So you're actually getting a little training as a little side benefit for being here tonight. If you've never run slides on a Zoom. I think I might have to press slideshow again. And there we go. Now it wants me to start from the beginning. And there might be a little bit of a delay in that, but that should take your full screen. There we are. It's come through on my end here. So welcome to our full moon training on finding balance, making choices to balance achievement and fulfillment. Let's see. Now we need to get down there where I can, ta-da, move to the next slide. Here we are. I'm Wendy Spurgeon. I'm the creator of the Way of Truth Sacred Journey Portal and your facilitator for this evening's full moon workshop. I am very excited to be speaking with you today. Normally with me, you would see the lovely and talented and brilliant Shelley Chase. She is my partner in all things coaching. She is a writer and a life happiness coach here in Silver City alongside me. And we've been teaming forces to bring forth some tools and resources for our community as we are stretching beyond our comfort zone. There's just a bit of our branding there. It occurred to me, you know, I made that little brand, the Way of Truth, connect to your heart's portal with that, whatever that is, angel or fairy who's flying through the air with her rainbow wings. And that came from just like a real visioning and tuning into my heart's wisdom and how I feel when I'm really being of highest service, and it feels like flying. And it's become sort of like the sticky note that sticks with me because it goes on all of the emails that go out, and I see it a lot. But if you think about it, it's kind of like a reminder. Like, and I might get like sticky notes made with that so people can just like put them on their mirror. You're like, you know, the Way of Truth, connect to your heart's wisdom. That's where the truth is.
Oh, yes.
Heart's
And merchandise like t-shirts and stuff. I would totally buy a t-shirt with that on there.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And
it is, it's stunning.
I have this background as a dancer. I mean, and when we're in our kind of creative mode, when we're like really opening up to how the divine wants to move us through the world, I mean, it feels joyful like that. And then across the top, employ your sacred genius now. That actually came to me about maybe a year and a half ago. I was just going for a walk, and I'm like, so what is it? What is it that, you know, can be provided through this community, right? Yeah, so the Way of Truth is the way, right? It's the process. But what does it do? It allows you to employ your unique sacred genius, your unique talent, your unique recipe that makes you just perfect to serve the community that you're called to serve. Whether that's your family, your neighborhood, your town, your state, your whatever, however, when you are connected to your heart's wisdom, then you can really bring that genius forth and put it to work. That's what I mean by employ. Put that part of you to work. Because, you know, we are ready and we're set to grow and we don't have to do it alone. So that's what all of that means. And I just wanted to share a moment just to share a little bit about the vision. We did some really intensive visioning work just a few weeks ago on the summer solstice, we had a big summer solstice virtual vision board party, and there were folks that were there for all 3 sessions, and it was an intense day. And then folks who even came back the next day for the new moon in Cancer, which was Father's Day, where there were 2 circles offered on forgiveness. And Melanie, I mean, if I could give you a prize, she went to all 5 of those in the weekend. And I'm like, I'm blown away. I'm so, it's like, yeah, okay. So she's becoming my walking billboard of what happens when you give yourself, when you invest in yourself, when you invest in these transformational experiences it's not just for yourself, it's for everyone in your life.
Yes.
It's a ripple healing effect. So I just wanted to share a little bit about who we are. And here we are on the full buck moon. So I just wanted to share a little bit of context about the astrology and the energy, what's possible for us in a very, very tangible, real way right now tonight. So we are in the full moon in Capricorn. So you might have a strong need for being useful to the society, and you look for justification in the outside world. You may underestimate what you want from yourself and for yourself. Shyness may be accompanied by resentment of the fact that others ignore you. Do not seek approval from the outside. It will not help you get rid of your doubt, and it is harmful to you. You have to trust your inner values. And Michael is here, and he was part of the values workshop we did a couple months ago. So there's a lot of the stuff that we've been working on in the past several months that is starting to kind of like come together in very like a puzzle. So this moon is also sometimes known as the thunder moon because of the stormy weather during the summer months. And if you think about it, we have some global stormy weather going on energetically. It's also known as the hay moon because of July hay harvests. The full buck moon, like all full moons, occur when the moon is fully behind the earth, allowing the sun to illuminate it. Now, tonight is July 5th. It is the full buck moon, and it's also a lunar eclipse tonight in Capricorn. So I wanted to share a little bit about the eclipse and how that's affecting us. So now there's always bound to be some tension when a laid-back full moon like July's buck moon occurs in a hard-working sign like Capricorn. And if you don't recall last year's Capricorn buck moon, here's just a quick refresher. Many of us likely felt pulled in opposing directions toward rapid progress and leisurely contentment in equal measure. So it was like this tug and pull. So striking a balance between work and play was difficult a year ago. And that will remain the case this year, possibly with higher stakes, thanks to the coinciding penumbral lunar eclipse. Now, this eclipse will make it easier to identify the forces impeding our professional and personal lives. But it'll be up to us to determine how we react to those discoveries. Some of us may take a hard line approach and cut out all distractions, while others may attempt to find a compromise between their vital responsibilities and minor interests. So either way, something will have to give during this challenging phase. So now is a really good time. Capricorn is about finding solid ground. It's about facing internal and external realities and taking responsibility from a place of empowerment on where we're at and what needs to happen next. So you can see how this ties right into this topic of finding balance and reclaiming your time, living a more fulfilling life. So today we're gonna be covering several key points on finding balance in your life that you can implement right away. And our training tonight is broken down into 4 sections. Part 1 is, what is work-life balance? We're going to define this concept, what it means to you, and some of the benefits of keeping your work and life in balance, and what that looks like today. Things have shifted rapidly, so you may already be feeling like you're needing to find this, whatever this new balance is between your
Yes.
work and your life, since a lot of it is commingling, right?
Yeah.
And part 2, we'll look at what are the consequences of work-life imbalance and the consequences of work-life balance. We'll look at both of those things. And I'll be sharing some interesting research with you that you can use as you consider your own work-life imbalance and balance. In part 3, what influences my work-life balance? So we're going to discuss specific factors, both negative and positive, internal and external, that are key to work-life balance. And then in part 4, what can I do to improve my work-life balance? So you're gonna look at the external and internal, the positive and the negative influences of your work-life balance. All right. Okay, ready to make a commitment? We'll look at actions you can take to make these shifts. Before we move forward, I am hearing Melanie, it might be on your end, some lovely children's voices in the background. I wonder if you wouldn't mind muting until it's time for discussion. Thank you.
Yes, of course. Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, so let's get to it. What is work-life balance? So if you remember playing on a seesaw when you were a little kid, and how shifting on your seat or an extra push off from the ground would change the whole action of the seesaw. So one of the dynamics at play with a seesaw is balance. So to get started, let's bring some perspective to our own lives. I won't ask you to climb onto a seesaw, but I do want to ask you to think about the life that you have lived up to this point and the remaining balance of your years ahead of you. Please do the following calculation in your heads. Okay, so whatever your math is, trust it's good enough. Subtract your current age from 90. Now add 2 zeros to the answer. So in my case, I'm about to turn 50. So if I just subtract my current age from 90, that's 40. And then I'm going to add 2 zeros to the answer. So that's 4,000 for me. And then next, we want to divide that number in 2. So for me, that's 2,000. And this is roughly how many weeks you have left on this earth, assuming you live to a very ripe old age. Now, if you don't smoke and you look after yourself properly, if you smoke, let me switch that turn around. If you smoke and don't look after yourself properly, subtract 1,200 weeks. And now close your eyes and take a few slow, deep breaths and visualize the following.
Wendy?
Yeah.
Okay, so I did the subtraction and then added the 2 zeros.
And then divide that number in 2.
Okay, hold on. Okay, so divided by
Yes, so you divided that number in 2. And this is
Okay.
roughly how many weeks you have left on this earth, assuming you live to a very ripe old age. And
Right.
if you smoke and don't look after yourself properly, subtract 1,200 weeks. I don't think you're a smoker. I could be wrong.
No, I'm not.
Right. You
So I have to subtract 1,200.
if you smoke and don't look
Oh,
after
okay.
yourself. But if you don't do those things, then your number is your number. And that's approximately how many weeks you have left on this earth. And now close your eyes and take a few slow, deep breaths. And visualize the following. You are very near the end of your life. You have a few minutes of consciousness remaining with which to peacefully look back over what you have achieved and what difference you've made in the world. And how will you be remembered? So how do you want to be remembered? What did you do that mattered? What will you have done that will give you a truly good feeling at the end of your life? How have you best fulfilled your unique potential? I just want to give you a few minutes to write down anything that's coming up. And just take a deep breath. I'm gonna, let's kind of stay in this journaling mode a little bit. And just keep writing down what comes up. Because I write about what it was like to actually come up with the number of weeks. But what was that like? What was that discovery? And how'd this make you feel? Just write some notes about that. We rarely think about our lives in this way, that we are only here for a short time and we need to focus on what truly matters. Thinking deeply about our own life purpose and what brings us fulfillment, it helps us to align with what we are doing currently and what we want to be doing with the rest of our lives. And this in turn creates awareness about the directions our lives are heading and how we are dedicating our time each day. So with this in mind, the question we may need to ask ourselves is whether the lives we are living truly reflects the proper choices we have made and how those choices are getting us to where we really want to be. It's about shifting our perspective and aligning our values, which we've worked on in this group. How we're aligning our choices with those core values to create the experience that we want to experience, because ultimately we're responsible for that. There isn't anybody else who can do that for us. And we're living in a time when it's becoming very clear what's in our control, what's truly within our wheelhouse of what we actually can do. is those things that are truly our responsibility. Doing our own self-care and working to come into balance so that we can really stay fueled in our vision and by our values, and very clear and focused with our energy to do our best work in this time when we really need everybody to be doing that. We can't make anybody else do it. We have to sort of be the models and example of it. So I do want to just really honor and acknowledge both of you for being tonight, and for those of you who are watching this replay and doing this work. So, so our work-life balance is a lot like that seesaw. Each of our actions or activities in one area of our life, no matter how small or big, causes a small or big shift somewhere else. So let's introduce a definition of work-life balance that we will use for the remainder of this training. Now is a great time to take out worksheet number 1, finding the balance point. And we'll be filling in different areas on this activity sheet throughout the training. So this one we'll keep close at hand. So at the very bottom of the worksheet, you'll see that there's some open space for writing. There's nothing there. So at the bottom of your sheet, please record the definition of work-life balance as I read it aloud slowly. So here's the definition. Work-life balance is the dynamic relationship between achievement fulfillment and the factors that influence our choices and decisions in these two areas. And I'll just repeat that again. I think you probably got it. Work-life balance is the dynamic relationship between achievement, fulfillment, and the factors that influence our choices and decisions in these two areas. So achievement is primarily about doing, such as getting things done and meeting goals and obligations. And fulfillment is about being, such as feeling satisfied about your relationships and contributions. So I'd like to just open up the line a little bit. Either of you feeling like you'd like to volunteer to share your thoughts about the definition, or about what's important about the need to balance our doing and being? What are your thoughts? What are your insights about this?
I definitely think it's times that I have to create a new dynamic in finding the balance in my professional life as well as my personal life, and trying to do that in the way that I was doing it has not been successful, and I'm struggled with the need that comes from others to be fully present when certain things arise for them in this time of pandemic.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, The analogy that comes up for me often, Michael, is that idea of you. If you're on a plane that is, turbulent, there is the fear that it could crash, that it could go down. You're losing cabin pressure, and the oxygen masks drop. There's a reason why they train us to take a breath from that oxygen mask first before we assist the person next to us. We have to find that balance that is healthy for each one of us uniquely, right? It's not a one size fit all. But if we're comparing ourselves to someone else, which is, it's been the case our whole lives, right? My mother was, the person that I looked to of like what it means to be, a productive, good woman in the world. And what she was modeling to me is not sustainable for me personally. The trying to be her or to be as, like her as possible, it drove me to workaholism, which is out of balance. I found that I had to kind of find that inner courage to say, my contribution is unique. It doesn't have to look exactly like hers. And in order, for me to maximize my unique contribution, I need to find that unique work-life balance inside of myself, no matter what anybody else outside me thinks. Because, that's what it is, taking in other people's judgments or our perceived judgments that we're not working hard enough. So it's a real journey to kind of find, what that is for yourself, and then to be able to say, this, to be able to, to be very clear inside yourself and to feel comfortable that this is it. And it doesn't have to look like anybody else's experience of work-life balance.
I was going to say pretty.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because mine is actually really similar to yours, because it's like your power lies in your understanding of your own truth.
Absolutely.
And finding your work-life balance. So it's essentially the same.
Yeah.
It's essentially saying the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, and so the first step really is to give yourself permission to find out what that is. Instead of like killing yourself to try to match somebody else's expression, because we think that's what we have to do in order to be worthy. It's like there's a lot of shadow beliefs going on with that. So this is really a very powerful topic and a very powerful time to embrace that inner work, to find that balance. Let's see here. I'm gonna move. Oh, look at that. In case you didn't get it on your worksheet, there it is on the screen. Work-life balance is the dynamic relationship between achievement, fulfillment, and the factors that influence our choices and decisions in these two areas. All right, so your work-life balance looks different for everybody. So now we're going to take some time for you to personalize what work-life balance means to you. So on your worksheet, number 1, please write the label achievement to the left of the person standing in the center of the worksheet. So on the left-hand side, that'll be achievement. And then write the label fulfillment to the right of the person standing at the center of the circle. Fulfillment. And now, write down a word or draw a symbol or an icon representing what these two labels mean to you. And draw the symbols or write the words in the person's hands on the applicable side. So for example, On the achievement side, the person could be holding a diploma to represent achievement, or a bag of money to represent financial success. On the fulfillment side, the person could be holding a large heart or a wrapped gift to represent the importance of relationships and sharing to others. So let's just take a few minutes to write some words or draw some symbols on either side there. All right, and so let's start to come back. Does anyone want to share what they drew or wrote on their worksheet and what it represents for them?
I just wrote on achievement just a dollar sign, and on fulfillment a happy heart.
Yeah. I think at our core, all of us want to feel happy, right? And we have different ideas of the achievements that would make us happy. When really, if we work on being happy, then those achievements actually come much more easily, and they flow, and they're more. That's what I'm feeling. It's like you don't necessarily have to have the achievement to have the feeling, or the fulfillment. You can have if you have the fulfillment first, then it can be the fuel for your vision and your goals and your action steps to reach the achievement. So that's like the kind of the hack in thinking that I'm working on. Michael, how about you? What came up for you?
Well, for achievement, probably would be both of my college degrees. I drew a box that, since I drive a Kia Soul, I put my cars, since I have the ability to drive.
Absolutely.
And I tried to draw a very interesting looking horse, because there's many times that I've fallen off the horse and have to get back on and keep moving farther, or trying again, I mean to say. And then my fulfillment is my lay ministry authorization, which is hanging in my office. I drew a stick figure with a head, neck, and arms, and I tried to draw a pulpit for preaching. And then I wrote my mom, brother, and Tony, which give me family fulfillment.
Oh, that is just wonderful. Oh, thank you for sharing that. That's a beautiful, balanced picture, Michael. All right, so now you're going to take the pulse of your current work-life balance. So looking still at your activity sheet number 1, notice that the balancing board the person is standing on has a 0 in the middle and a number 10 at each end. Ideally, a balance between achievement and fulfillment is what is desired, but as we've discovered, balance is ever changing. So how you rate these today may well be different in a month. So let's just see how things currently stand in your life. Please draw a mark or write a number along the left-hand scale that represents where you currently are overall, in overall satisfaction with your achievement level. And then you'll do the same thing on the fulfillment side on the drawing over to the left. So let's just take a minute and think about that, where you would put those numbers. All right, and any volunteers willing to share their ratings and what they mean to you? I'm happy to share too.
For my achievement, I'm about a 4, since I'm still laying the foundational work. But in the on the life side, it is like a 7. Making new friends, meeting new people. I'm grateful.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
great. Interesting, Melanie. I put a 4 on the achievement side, and I was thinking 7 for fulfillment, but I took it back to a 6. And the reason why, I feel like, on the achievement side, I'm actually just rearing up. That's been the scary thing when I first started visualizing and visioning possibilities. It became pretty overwhelming because I saw some big things. But just like giving myself permission to be in progress, right? Progress, not perfection. It's a long game. Plug away, do what you need to do to feel that balance, and that solid foundation has led to just fulfillment on the other side. More and more fulfillment fuels more of that discipline on the work side. So we're getting, we're stretching. We're in a time of expansion and stretching. Michael, how about you? Anything you'd like to share?
On achievement, I put a 4 because I feel like there's more that I want to achieve in terms of my education, and then my fulfillment right now is a 6, just because of the struggle with trying to survive living into a new familiar in this
Right.
time of pandemic.
Right. Well, isn't that interesting? Our numbers were really similar.
And
Yeah, go ahead.
I have to say, I am stunned that you and Michael would put such a low number. Because
Well,
Wendy,
the
you
bar just
yourself
keeps getting higher.
I would expect you guys to be more in like the 7s and the 8s, because I'm learning you more, Wendy. You've done a lot of amazing things, and Michael, and just your quick little bio, you're with your education and all that. I'm floored. I'm just floored.
No, it's all a matter of perspective, right? And it's not a bad thing. It means that we see more. Like the ceiling has become the new floor, which is what happens.
Yeah.
Well, if I may add, my lower achievement with education comes from the how I was pushed by my dad to try to do more than just a Associate of Arts degree and a Bachelor of Arts degree, and that stems from feeling as though I have to push myself to do more just to please somebody.
Right.
Oh,
So that's where that comes from. But my fulfillment number is higher because I stopped worrying about pleasing other people. I had to take a deep look inside myself and say, who's living this life? Are people from the external forces like family, friends, people you work with, are they pushing me towards the fulfillment that they want to see in me and the achievement that they want to see in me? Or do I have to finally step back and put my foot down and say, this is what I've achieved and I'm content with that? And the same goes with, I'm fulfilled and I'm content with that, and my foot is coming down.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Really powerful insights. Thank you. This is a great class. So I'm going to go ahead and move us on to the next here. Okay, so now that you're going to take the pulse of your current work-life balance. Look at worksheet number 1, which you're on. Notice, we already did that part, right? Yeah, we did the sharing, we did the ratings. Okay.
Yeah.
Just a metaphor for balance. So as babies, when we first learn to stand, we fall down a lot so that we can discover the edges of our equilibrium and learn the consequence of each movement that we make, right? Because every action has a reaction, right? Oh, I didn't know how far I could push my weight forward before I fell. I mean, these are just things that you kind of discover physically inside your body as you're learning how to walk. And with time and experience, we build habits and strengths that help us maintain our balance without having to think about it. So now we don't even think about it. It's gotten into our muscle memory. And a lot of this work that we're doing has a real strong analogy to working a muscle. We're kind of working emotional muscles. And the more that we work with these, the easier and more second nature it becomes. But it takes falling down and getting back up and adjusting and having that patience with ourselves and each other as we're learning. So work-life balance, it's a dynamic relationship. Each person must decide what achievement and fulfillment looks like in their own life. If we don't make work-life balance a priority, sometimes the negative influences that fill our lives urge us to say no to work-life balance and yes to work-life imbalance, which was my whole story of workaholism. I was out of balance in those areas. It caused my family. I mean that's kind of how I co-created the issues that eventually broke up the marriage.
Yeah.
Because I was out of balance. And so the consequences, what are the consequences of work-life balance or imbalance, right? How would our lives be different or better if we made work-life balance a priority? So this is what we're going to look at next. Let's see here, consequences. Okay, work-life imbalance is a challenge for many, many people. And my theory is that because of the programming that we've been getting from childhood, our parents and our grandparents had bought into it. It wasn't healthy then, and it got passed down and kind of got even worse. So as a result, there have been a lot of studies done on it, and I'm going to share some of that data with you. So we're not done with activity sheet 1, but we are going to take out activity sheet 2 at this point. And you may want to take notes about the research in the by filling in the missing words for item number 1 on activity sheet 2 and making some notes for item number 2. All right. So a study by the career website vault.com revealed that 69% of respondents said that the amount of vacation time they receive is not sufficient. A study by the Families and Work Institute revealed that chronically overworked employees have an adverse effect on business outcomes. They are more likely to make mistakes, resent their employers, and resent their coworkers for not working as hard as they do. Multitasking is a key contributor to employees being overwhelmed. According to the Corporate Executive Board, only 30% of employees feel they have a good work-life balance. A recent study among 50,000 global workers indicated that work-life balance ranked as second most important work-life attribute, second only to compensation. So what are the implications of this research for each of us, for our families, and for the companies we work for? Please write your thoughts for number 2 on the activity sheet, implications of this research. I'll give you a few minutes. All right, let's find our way back. And so now let's talk about this research as it relates to your views on work-life imbalance. Please refer to question number 3 on activity sheet 2. Think about what the research is saying about the consequences of work-life imbalance and how it relates to your own life, and write the answer on the activity sheet for question 3. The consequences of work-life imbalance in my life are. So, yeah, the term consequences refers to a negative result here, even though it can also be viewed in a positive light when seen as benefits related to work-life balance. But we were just working on work-life imbalance. Does anyone feel comfortable sharing their answers? I'm happy to share what I see as the
Oh
consequence.
yeah, I don't mind.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
I'm I'm always feeling stressed and running against the clock.
Right.
Um, like while trying to meditate, I'm lately I've been falling asleep due to being overtired, and I'm missing out on a lot of family summer fun
Hmm.
to try to stay on schedule or get back on track. That's what I'm currently in this moment experiencing.
Awesome. Yeah.
Time in my life right now.
Generally speaking, my consequences for work-life imbalance are a diminished immune system. When I get really out of balance, it's like my body, gives me very, very clear signs. Um,
Oh yeah.
there's also drained energy, irritability in my relationships, impatience, not pleasant or present.
Yeah, I
And
get
then,
finicky.
yeah, and then and that can have a spiral effect, right? If I am being mean or, just um, not present, like not, it I tend to, then I tend to beat myself up about that, right? And have some negative self-talk. So the
Yeah.
consequences of work-life imbalance for me can go, pretty deeply. Um, so Michael, how about you? What are some of the consequences of work-life imbalance for you?
Lack of sleep, or in my case, having trouble getting to sleep and
Right.
staying asleep. Um, Heightened anxiety, self-doubt, lack of trust in myself and others, and a potential to lose my passion and focus for what I'm being called to do,
Yeah.
um, in both my professional and personal life.
Yeah. I mean, so, um, there's the consequences are vast. I mean, they can show up differently for everyone, right? In different areas of your life. Um, it can reinforce the mindset that you're a victim of your life rather than the leader of your life. Engaging in activities that don't represent what's truly important to you, living without integrity. Um, so we've just covered how work-life imbalance has clear consequences, especially negative ones. And in fact, some of them are pretty serious. Um, but now let's take a look at the consequences of work-life balance. What happens in our lives when we're in balance? So now let's refer to item number 4 on activity sheet 2 and identify what you think are the consequences of work-life balance. Think about the consequences in terms of yourself individually, your families, your companies, and write your thoughts on number 4. And note the term consequences refers to a positive trait here, even though it can also be seen as negative. So let's take a few minutes to write about the consequences of work-life balance in my life are. All right, and let's make our way back. And who would like to share what they wrote under item 4? The consequences of work-life balance in my life are.
Well, I'm just using my imagination.
Sure.
But I think like the days would flow easily, enough time for work and enough time for self-care and relaxing, feeling happy and loved by life with just overall contentment.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, doesn't it? How about you, Michael? What came up for you?
I think failure to adhere and recognize my authentic self as if I have to
Yeah.
live behind a mask, and scared to share and express my feelings of what is going on that is troubling or concerning me in both my personal and professional life, which the ultimate result is I lose touch with myself in my call to serve in ministry, and it reflects on the lack of potentially being able to be fully present for family and friends.
Right. Yeah. And if we shift that, so, so if we were in balance, right? The consequence or the benefit, what would happen if we were in balance, right? That those pieces were in balance for us. What would that feel like? Yeah, this one we want to kind of like open up to possibility, right? So what might be the consequences or benefits if you were in that sweet, balanced place in your life? It'd kind of be the opposite, wouldn't it?
To
Sorry,
me,
I
it
was on.
seems like I would feel. Melanie, were you trying to talk?
No, darling, I just realized that I was on mute still.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I
So
think
yeah,
if
Michael,
we
go
were
ahead.
in that, if we were in that opposite place, or that um, space where we are balanced in both our work and personal lives, I definitely think the stress would be less, and I wouldn't feel like I would always have this weight on
Yeah.
myself and my shoulders, where I could just let go and turn it over to someone or something else in regards to my own spirituality,
Right.
like
Yeah.
letting somebody else take care of it for once.
Right. Oh, just as you're describing that, I feel so much lighter, doesn't it? And so much
Oh
more
yes.
secure, right? Yeah. It's like that there's less stress, um, a greater sense of fulfillment and calm and ease and security, energy, like there's more energy available there, and faith, right? You spoke to that, Michael. It's like um, that balance would allow us to work with God, or in that kind of like co-creative relationship, because we could being in balance, we can be an instrument of that peace in a more efficient, easy way, right? Really, really powerful. And for families, the benefits, parents have more time with their kids when you have that work-life balance. Um, and families have an opportunity to have closer relationships, which is like, it's interesting. Now we're in this situation where a lot of families are working from home, and they are like on the fly by the seat of their pants, having to work out this work-life balance thing. And it's a huge mindset shift, because you're coming from this corporate pace that is not gonna align with the family and the life, and we need to slow down. And in fact, that is a positive consequence. We have this opportunity to really be with what is actually workable and sustainable inside of these new circumstances. So it makes a huge difference when you give yourself permission to define a new definition of success, right? Success is not just about career or achievement. Success, it's actually, also, it's about balance, about also having that fulfillment. And so maybe we don't make as much money as the Joneses, but we are having like healthy relationships with our family. And so that more than makes up the difference for whatever perceived status of a financial achievement, right? But nobody ever tells us this. We have to tell ourselves that. We have to give ourselves permission to find what that is for us, regardless of what anybody else thinks. For families, children learn the benefits of work-life balance because it's being modeled by their parents. There's huge opportunity to bond as a family. I used to work as I was completing my theater degree. There were years when I was sort of like back and forth between working professional theater and working in daycares, because I also had a gift working with children and families, and it was a little more kind of solid work, or like consistent work. But I was just like, I was judgmental at, the parents who would drop their babies and toddlers off at 6 o'clock in the morning. And I knew that those kids weren't getting picked up until 5. And then it was just like, time for dinner and bath and put them to bed, right? These were parents that were not in balance with their work and their, and it was easy for me to judge. But in retrospect, I can see that was like, it wasn't a choice, right? They had to work so much in order to pay for the daycare. It's just like, it's kind of a filter of looking at the world. And for companies, right? If employees and managers had a healthier work-life balance, they would have a more productive and happier workforce. There would be less stress on the job, less illness and sick time. I hope if anything stood out for you, go ahead and make some notes on your worksheet there of like any other additional notes you'd like to write. Because our research shows us that a majority of workers, they don't feel like they get enough vacation time and generally feel overworked. Overworked employees do not make for a good bottom line business. The number of workers who feel they have a good work-life balance is dropping. Work-life balance, it takes effort. It requires paying more attention to our lives than we may be used to. It's probably feeling really uncomfortable and awkward and unnatural for our neighbors and ourselves. And some people may experience shame or guilt if they're not successful at improving their work-life balance, right? Either way, right? It's like I'm not making enough money, and I'm not paying enough attention to the kids or my marriage, or or whatever it is. It's like this. You can't win for losing. But we need to remember it's a process, and it takes time to really understand work-life balance. We need to look beyond what we want to achieve and how we want to be fulfilled, and look at the factors that influence our work-life balance. The power to improve your work-life balance lies in your ability to recognize what is minimizing your work-life balance and what you can do to maximize it. And before we go to the next segment, I'm just going to let you all know this is happening on Saturday. So Michael, I don't know if you've seen any of my posts, but I'm turning 50. And so it's a bit of a milestone. So I am hosting a virtual birthday party concert fundraiser between 9 and 8 on that day, Mountain Time. And it'll be a pretty exciting day. There'll be some pre-recorded concerts. People are, you know, my old actor friends and musician friends are sending in submissions. I'll be recording some songs. We'll have our virtual lunch with a life coach that day. That's the workshop in the middle, and the topic is the Law of Attraction Cafe. Pretty fun. It'll be a hybrid event. So, and actually, I've invited Melanie, because she lives in town, to be an actual guest in, because we're going to do kind of a hybrid thing. So we'll be at Oasis, which is where.
Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome. Thank you for agreeing. So we'll actually be in a cafe type environment, as well as those who are zooming in. There'll be some open mic hours where people can just zoom in. They can share a story or a monologue or a poem or whatever, and we'll make some new memories. So, and it's when you go, Michael, when you go to that link there, you see at the bottom, thewayofTruth.live/Wendy Lunch. You can either get the birthday pass for Pay What You Can, and you can see 100% of your Pay What You Can donation goes to PFLAG National. Or if you upgrade that donation to $50, you'll get the gift box, which is the recordings. Not everybody who gets the pass will get the recordings. It's for those who want to upgrade. And the big, hairy, audacious goal is to reach $5,000 by August 2nd. And we're getting some good press on it. So spread the word. Would love to engage with you on this day if you're available. So I just wanted to let you know about that.
Yeah, I've seen the post, and hopefully if my sermon is done by that time, I will be able to.
Awesome. Well, it is all day. It's
okay.
You know, so you can drop in or you can drop out, however, and I encourage that. You know, however it works in your day. So if you go to that link, then you'll see the whole schedule.
Okay.
All right. So thanks. I wanted to let you know about that. And so now back to our training. Part 3, what influences my work-life balance? So if work-life balance was easy, we'd probably all have it. But it, like I said, it's dynamic. It's an ever-changing process that can seem more elusive than attainable. And there are many things in life that create obstacles between you and your work-life balance. Now in part 2, we looked at some of the consequences of work-life balance and imbalance. And in this section, we're going to dig a little deeper and identify some of the internal and external factors that can influence your balance, or that can influence your ability to improve that balance. So I'm going to ask you a little bit of an experiment here. Let's try something. Everyone, please stand up. And now lift one leg off the ground and balance on the other as best you can for 30 seconds. All right. Now sit back down. So, what things influenced your ability to maintain your balance? I'd like you to
Yoga.
consider. So this is actually, so this leads to a lesson. So consider internal influences, those things that relate to a person's thoughts or feelings. So for example, internal thoughts like, I can't do this, or I don't think my leg is strong enough for this. And now consider external influences, those things that relate to a person's external world. So for example, external factors could be standing on an uneven surface, or someone or something bumping into you,
Oh,
right? So there's two things going on here that affect your balance. Internal factors, such as your thoughts about whether or not you can do it, and external factors, such as the playing field. Is there steady ground? Is there support as you find your balance, right? So let's stand again and switch to balance on their leg, and do your best to last for 30 seconds. Ready? Here we go. All right, and now let's sit back down. So you have two experiences there, I'm guessing. What things positively influenced your ability to maintain your balance? And consider internal factors that are positively supporting your ability or desire to keep your balance, such as your thoughts or your feelings. So for example, internal thoughts like, I can do this, or imagining yourself as a tree with deep roots that provide a feeling of stability. And now observe the external factors that are positively supporting your ability to keep your balance. So for example, external factors could be leaning on someone or something, or calling on skills from a yoga class to keep your balance. Like I was like, you know, I used to be a dancer, so I was pulling in my tummy muscles, and I was, you know, stretching the top of my head towards the ceiling while trying to relax my shoulders, and, you know, just imagining that kind of square frame, right? So we've been exploring, you know, the positive and negative influences of our ability to balance. So let's apply all of this, you know, as we think about those internal factors, the positive or negative thoughts you're having about your ability to find balance, and the external factors, the positive and negative things that affect your ability to find that work-life balance. So let's go back to our first worksheet, activity sheet number 1, and locate the 4 small boxes in each corner of the sheet. So we've got the guy in the middle who's balancing inside the circle, and there's a square around that, and at each corner in that square there's 4 boxes. And I'd like you to write inside the 4 boxes as follows. So in the upper left corner box, write positive external influences. And in the upper right box, negative external influences. In the lower left, positive internal influences. And in the lower right, negative internal influences. So everyone has various factors that influence their work-life balance. Let's identify the factors that you feel personally influence your ability to find work-life balance and place them within each of these 4 quadrants on your work-life diagram. And I want to be sure and point out that the same influence can be positive in one person's life and negative in another person's life. So, for example, in a work environment, one person might have a very flexible work schedule where their work times are different each week, and to them, a flexible work schedule may be a positive influence because it gives them free time during the day to run errands or to have lunch with the kids. And for someone else, a flexible work schedule may be a negative influence because they have difficulty planning from week to week, or they have childcare issues that work better with a consistent schedule. So now it's your turn to see which positive and negative influences affect your work-life balance. On activity sheet 1, please notice the general categories on the top of the worksheet and place the examples in the positive quadrant or the negative quadrant as applicable. If the category doesn't apply, disregard it. If the category is too broad and you can think of a more specific example, go ahead and write down examples that are specific to your life. So examples might include family, friendships, home, money and finances, career, obligations, resources, employer, employees, bosses, stakeholders. So I'm going to go ahead and give us a few minutes just for that top part, the top part of the sheet. So notice which general categories on the top of the worksheet and place examples in the positive, negative quadrant as applicable. All right, and let's come back. We can always take more time with this later, but next on the bottom half of the sheet, notice the general categories and place examples in the positive quadrant or negative quadrant as applicable. Again, if the category doesn't apply, disregard it. If the category is too broad, think of specific examples that apply to your life. So examples might include habits, emotions, life purpose, values, knowledge, mindset, beliefs, priorities, skills, perspectives, passion, experience, the past, goals, and self-awareness. Let's just take a few minutes on that bottom part of the sheet. All right, and let's start to come back. So who would like to share some of their influences? Tell us first what quadrants it's in and then the specific influence.
Well, for my positive internal influences, um, I put self-awareness actually in the middle because it's both. I have issues with positive self-talk and negative self-talk, or positive uh, um, reviews of myself and negative reviews of myself. Um, I put the word passion for positive internal influence because of my passion for ministry. I put my life experience because a lot of my life experience plays into not only the both the blessing and the curse of my mental health challenges, but also being able to use my mental health and my self-awareness to um, um, offer light into the darkness that others may be experiencing as they encounter and hopefully conquer their mental health challenges.
Thank you, Michael.
I found that I put a lot of things in the negative and positive section, so kind of straddling the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah, because some days, some of them are really good, positive aspects, and then you have some that are not positive. So
Right.
So we're very similar.
Yeah, and some of them, yeah, I noticed I wrote some things in both in all the quadrants, right? Because it, in so many ways, it depends on your perspective. Like, the past, it has been a negative internal influence, but now that I've been doing this work, there's gifts that I'm finding from the past, and so it also fits in the positive internal influences, right? So it makes a lot of sense that it would straddle more than one quadrant, because it's that dynamic, it's a dynamic process, right? It's not stagnant. It doesn't stay in one particular box. It's about bringing your awareness and how you can use any of these to help you find the balance that you need right now.
It's an awesome worksheet, Wendy. Really, it is,
Yeah. So, so the external influences are the factors that are found in a person's environment and maybe beyond a person's immediate control. Still, they can influence work-life balance in either a positive or negative way. So some possible examples: negative or distracting, a mean or demanding boss, sudden expense that causes you to have to work more hours. But a positive and supporting example, easy access to business opportunities or resources, a supportive family, no mortgage payment. Internal influences are the factors that are inside the person and generally, but not always, within the control of a person. And many of these internal influences relate to mindset. So what we were just talking about, how are you looking at it? How are you interpreting it? If you're interpreting it as, if it's negative or distracting, those come from your limiting beliefs, victim mentality, poor health habits, or a lack of awareness. And positive and supportive examples are a leadership mindset, strong education or experience, belief in oneself, courage. So we've looked at the benefits of improving work-life balance and the factors that support us or distract us from doing so. And now it's time to put this knowledge into action. Once you become aware of the negative influences that influence your work-life balance, you are one step closer to doing something about them. By becoming aware of the positive influences, you discover how resourceful you actually are. So let's take out activity sheet number 3. Working from activity sheet 1, identify one negative influence, internal or external, that is a hindrance to a better work-life balance, and write it in the space provided on activity sheet 3. So yeah, that's in the upper left. The negative factor I want to minimize or eliminate is so pick an influence that you want to work on minimizing or eliminating. Maybe choose the influence that is easiest to shift or the one that will have the biggest impact. And now identify one positive influence, internal or external, from activity sheet 1 that supports a better work-life balance, and write it in the space provided on activity sheet 3. So that's right below. The positive factor I want to maximize or enhance is, and here pick an influence that you want to maximize or develop more of. By narrowing your focus and selecting just 2 influences to work on, you won't overwhelm yourself. You can put more effort into making only these changes. And then when you're ready, you can pick 2 more influences to work on, one positive and one negative. So I would say hold on to these worksheets, right? Because those are the first ones you're going to work on. And then you can add more. But this is a great worksheet to hold on to. And now write down one action you'll take to minimize the negative influence and one action to maximize the positive influence. So those are the remaining 2 boxes there. All right. Who would like to share what came up when you were working on this, when you were selecting a positive or negative influence or identifying an action? What do you see you might need to happen in order for you to commit to this? Just opening up the conversation for any reflections that came up.
Mine was pretty easy.
Good.
You know, where I'm currently working now, helping out, my family, I had, shutting out the negative coworkers, like letting their voices get in my head. And my action, I'm actually putting in my notice at work and just taking that leap of faith that the
Oh,
universe will have a net.
wow. Awesome.
Because it's really hindering me, and I can see that. And I don't have to accept this atmosphere, so I'm not going to. That was for my negative.
Yeah,
Yeah.
keep going. Yeah. Do you want to share about your positive?
And my positives, what can I do? So mine is creating myself or collaborating with like-minded persons and, building my own business
Yeah.
that fits my life. And then, of course, the action I can take is cultivating positive friendships that
Yeah.
have similar goals as mine. So easy in theory, very simple.
Well, from our experiences together, you're already on that path. So this is
Yeah, I
really
know.
fueling that. It's really fueling that wisdom,
Yeah,
really
it's
powerful.
been such a delight. I'm so happy. So yeah, mine was easy. But what's Michael have to say if he'd like to?
Michael?
Yeah, sorry, I was just being really detailed in what
Oh,
I was wanting to work on in terms of finding that balance. And I put trying not to have to worry about or think about justifying why I take additional medication that will overall benefit my mental health and wellness. And the action that I want to take, both externally and internally, is telling myself that I'm doing this for me and no one else in the future.
mm-hmm. Ultimately, it's your life and your experience of it. And you are the one who has the most influence over your work-life balance and your experience. So wow, both of you, really powerful work tonight. And I'm happy to hear, Michael, you were taking some really detailed notes because it was coming clear. It was like coming like, oh, you need to write this down. This is your inner
I
wisdom.
thought the same thing. That's so awesome.
Yeah. Awesome.
Well, and I also have a folder from, you can't see it, but I have a folder of all the different worksheets from the different webinars I've done through the Way of Truth.
Oh yeah, they're all starting to work together. I'm glad you're keeping them in a folder. That's brilliant.
Yeah, I saved mine too. I do. I save mine and look back on them.
Yeah, yeah, they
They're
help you clarify. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. It's amazing.
So, Wendy, I actually have a question before we move on.
Okay.
So, we just got done with worksheet number 3, right?
Uh-huh.
Is there a worksheet 4?
There is not. That was the last one. Yeah.
So, the activity sheet number 5, is that supposed to be activity 4?
No, I think that can be some extra. I think that's some follow-up work.
Okay.
Yeah. So. Oh wait. Staying in balance.
That's what I saw it as. Just a space to write notes.
Yeah. So yeah.
Oh, I see.
We're almost, yeah, we're coming up on the end here.
Yeah.
So thank you both. I mean, so the work-life balance represents your relationship to 4 aspects of life: achievement, fulfillment, external influences, internal influences. You can create a better balance by identifying what achievement and fulfillment look like for you and what you need to do to create a satisfying balance in your life. So, so yeah, you could use worksheet number 5 for that as you continue to do some more journaling. And then the handout, Balancing Choices, that just gives you that definition and the reminder. Work-life balance does not magically happen. It takes effort to maintain the resources that are a positive influence. Making a commitment to change your relationship to these influences is an essential step to improving your work-life balance. And here we are. I want to help you by solidifying the learning that's taken place in our training tonight. To accomplish this, I'll just ask you to offer a short laser phrase on what you've learned. Who wants to start? Just something short, something that you learned, some takeaway.
You are the master of your destiny.
Beautiful. It's true.
It really is.
Awesome. And
then you create the life that you want to live for yourself and no one else.
brilliant.
That's good too. I like that one too.
Brilliant. Okay, so
And then Wendy,
yes.
after you end the recording, I have a question for you that I don't want
Okay,
shared on the recording.
Oh, I fully understand. It's no problem.
I will hang out after we stop the recording. So great work. You had some significant shifts show up for you in our class tonight as you went through this process of identifying the positive and the negative influences of your work-life balance. And this is just an example of what you can gain by looking at improving your work-life balance using that process. So thank you both for joining me tonight. The slide you see is just this is the topic of our virtual lunch with the life coach on Saturday. So
Super excited.
and that's our sister circle coming up. And we are at the end here. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Have a great night. Bye, Michael.
Good night, Melanie.
Okay. All right. Leave me. I found it. All right. Bye-bye.
All right, Michael, hold on. I haven't stopped the recording just yet. I'm trying to stop my share. Michael, do you just want to meet over the phone? Let me just close out this meeting and then you and I can talk on the phone. Sound good?
Do you want me to call you real quick?
Let me call you in just a second here. Okay, so we're stopping.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, I'll call you in a sec.
Okay, bye.